How's it going, everybody? I'm Steve, and welcome back. So about 3 years ago, I did like a Star Wars ranking with one of my friends. It was kind of like a Zoom meeting that I did like edits to, and then broadcast the video later. But I decided since today is May the 4th, decided to do something special for Star Wars. And as far as Star Wars, Disney took over Lucasfilm maybe like 10 years ago almost, and I've liked some of the things that Disney has done. I think some of their TV shows are pretty good, like Andor, and I saw like a Skeleton Crew recently. I like those. It's like stuff that's not related to like what George Lucas did. It's, specifically like the Skywalker, storyline. That whole thing. When Disney does stuff away from that, or kind of fills in like the gaps, like they do with Andor, I don't have a problem with that. But I do have a problem with the fact that they don't really follow canon so much. They don't really, they use like George Lucas as a consultant. Unlike, there are two people that work for Lucasfilm that do actually care what George Lucas thinks, like Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni. They actually care. Okay, so before we get started, please consider subscribing to my channel. I do like a lot of ranking videos like this. Love doing rankings. I love doing like haul videos, like Criterion hauls, boutique labels, and studio hauls, that kind of stuff. I love doing like out theater reactions. So if that sounds exciting to you, please like I said, please subscribe and please put a like on this video. It helps out my channel a lot. Okay, so you're gonna see the movie posters on my left like I normally do. They're gonna be 11 to 1, the whole thing. And like I said, I love a lot of these movies. I'm not saying that I dislike Disney necessarily, but you'll kind of see where some of the Disney movies kind of fall on my list here. But this first one here is actually from 2019. It's from J.J. Abrams, and it's The Rise of Skywalker. So like I said, I like this movie overall. There's some things that they did that I didn't like so much. When I saw like The Force Awakens years ago, I kind of knew something. I was saying something back then about the character of Snoke, and I kind of said some things about that then, and they kind of came true in this movie. So, and I don't know, J.J. Abrams said he had to kind of rewrite some things after the last director kind of changed some storylines. He had to kind of work around that, but. So I don't really dislike J.J. Abrams necessarily, but I just kind of not as big of a fan now of him as I used to be anyway. But obviously this one, is starring Adam Driver. I think he's really great as Kylo Ren in this movie. Daisy Ridley as Rey, John Boyega, Oscar Isaac. And then it brought back some of the legacy characters were brought back in the first J.J. Abrams movie in this franchise, in the new trilogy. Okay, so number 10, this one's from 2017, and it's The Last Jedi. So like I said, Rian Johnson did some things in this movie that, some things were kind of interesting, but I hated what they did with Mark Hamill's character. Just as a longtime Star Wars fan, I just can't handle that. It's like, I know it's really dramatic and the whole thing, and it makes it kind of interesting, and but some people it was kind of rumored before the movie that this would happen, but it was still, when it happened, I was like, oh my God. I thought pretty much everything else was fine. It wasn't until like the ending of the movie that kind of ruined it for me. But I think a lot of people had a problem with it. Rian Johnson, what he did with this. I like a lot of his other movies, like Knives Out. I think it's a fantastic movie. Okay, so at number 9, I'm sure a lot of people would have this one last. Unfortunately, I cannot put this director last on my list. But from 2002, I have Attack of the Clones from George Lucas. So, like I said, there's horrible CGI in this. A lot of people hated the love story, the whole thing that they did. I think that was kind of necessary to kind of show how the two of them actually were in love. But this obviously has Ewan McGregor, has Hayden Christensen, Natalie Portman, Samuel L. Jackson, Ian McDermott. He's really great in the prequels. Christopher Lee. Okay, so number 8 from 2018. This one's directed by Ron Howard. I have Solo: A Star Wars Story. So, so this movie, a lot of people know the mess that Lucasfilm created with this one. They hired like a directing team to film the movie, and then unlike some studios, usually they're really nosy in the production, and in this case they let them kind of do what they wanted to do, and then they realized later that they hated what they did, so they decided to fire that crew, and they hired Ron Howard. And obviously with any time like a director takes over a film, they want to have their name on the film, so they have to direct a certain amount. So I think it's like at least 70% of the film. I could be wrong about that, but he had to reshoot all kinds of stuff for this in order to get his name on it. So that's why the budget on this movie went way over. But I like the cast in here. I thought the story was fine. I enjoyed like I said, the cast. Alden Ehrenreich. That's hard to pronounce his last name, but he was you would know him from like He was in Oppenheimer not too long ago. He was like the kind of like the I think he was like the press secretary for Robert Downey Jr.'s character in that movie. Obviously, as a Woody Harrelson, as a obviously Emilia Clarke. I was a huge fan. I still am a fan of Game of Thrones, and she's the mother of dragons. So I was really excited when I heard that she was cast in this movie. I thought I definitely want to check that out. Okay, so number 7, this one's from 1999, directed by George Lucas, and I'm talking about The Phantom Menace. So, The Phantom Menace was George Lucas brought back Star Wars after 16 years. It's kind of hit or miss, sort of. I think a lot of people had some issues with this movie. I saw it in the theater, I think last year again for the re-release. But this one's kind of interesting. I think this movie's definitely saved by Darth Maul, played by Ray Park. It's definitely the character that people went back to see over and over again. Unfortunately, you have like Jar Jar Binks. I'm sure a lot of young kids at the time grew up with that character. They probably love that character. But for a full-grown adult to see him, it was kind of a mess. It kind of ruins the movie. I think it's unfortunate that Ahmed Best was really picked on for a long time because it wasn't his fault. He's playing a character in a film that George Lucas, wrote for him, and it's unfortunate. And obviously, Jake Lloyd was picked on a lot too as the young Anakin Skywalker. But I liked a lot of stuff in this movie, though. It's Liam Neeson's really great. Ewan McGregor, Natalie Portman, has Ian McDermott comes back. It was great to see the Palpatine, see that character back. I like the pod race in this movie. Okay, so number 6 in 2015. This one's from J.J. Abrams, and it's The Force Awakens. So I'm actually giving some respect to Disney on this one. I liked a lot what they did with this one. I definitely had a lot of potential. I think there were some things that bring back some legacy characters I really liked. Unfortunately, one legacy character was barely used in this movie. That's one big problem I have with it. But I liked a lot of stuff they'd hear. So obviously they have Adam Driver. Obviously he plays Kylo Ren. Has Daisy Ridley, John Boyega, Oscar Isaac, and they brought back some legacy characters. Harrison Ford. That's definitely one of the best parts of it. Peter Mayhew plays some parts of Chewbacca. Has like I said, Mark Hamill, Carrie Fisher. Love that, but they did something here, another cardinal sin here. They actually brought in Lawrence Kasdan. If you know from Empire Strikes Back, he actually at that time he wanted to kill off the Han Solo character. Giving a spoiler here, but I guess he got the job done in this movie, and, and that was one thing I really hated about it. That's probably the only thing I really hated about this movie, what they did with Han Solo. Okay, so number 5 from 2016. This one's from Gareth Edwards, and it's Rogue One. Like I said, I really like Andor. I'm watching season 2 right now on Disney Plus, and so I really like that series. It's definitely slow with a lot of exposition, and the TV series is really like the formation of the rebels. I don't want to give. I guess I'm going to give some spoilers here because there's something I really love at the end of this movie that it really takes this movie to the next level for me. But I do have some issues with that too, as far as like you'll see, like I said, this is a spoiler here. You'll see Darth Vader at the end of the movie, and it's great though. It's terrifying to see Darth Vader in this. He's like this killing machine, and then for me, it's like the continuity as far as if you watch Episode 4, you'll see Darth Vader looks completely different. He's much slower. Maybe he's kind of worn out from what all the stuff he just took place right before, like maybe like 10 minutes before. But overall, though, I thought that it's a great ending. It's really exciting, really terrifying. All right, so number 4 from 2005. This one's directed by George Lucas, and it's Revenge of the Sith. So for me, this one's definitely the best of the prequels. The first 2 are really more like exposition. This one's definitely the action movie. Everything pays off in this one. It has so much drama, so much action. It's so great though. This one's actually back in the theaters right now. I actually saw it this past Tuesday again. I think when this was originally released, I saw it like at least 6 times in the theater. It was so great. Especially that like opening scene in this movie is so great. There's so much happening there. They did so much with the CGI. It made it look really great. This one definitely doesn't have much of Jar Jar Binks in it. So I think you only see him at like the end of the movie, like during a funeral. But this one's really great though. I think now it's made like 90 million now, or 900 million in theater now. It's like the most successful re-release of any movie ever. This one's really great. It has Ewan McGregor, Hayden Christensen, Natalie Portman, Samuel Jackson. There's some rumor that he may actually come back as Mace Windu. I don't know if it's going to be in like in a movie or like in a TV series. I'm not sure. Let me know in the comments what you think about that. It'd be great to see that character because watching this again, basically he loses his hand in the movie. So, but there's definitely no proof they ever died though. So the character's definitely still alive. If you can do that with Boba Fett and some other characters in the franchise, you can definitely Darth Maul. If you can bring those characters back, you can definitely bring Mace Windu back. But I really like Ian McDermott's really great in this. He's definitely really tame. So when he played Palpatine, the Senator in the first two movies, Episode 1 and 2, but this one he actually becomes the Emperor. All right, so for my top three, I definitely had to reserve this for the original trilogy. Those are the movies I grew up on, so I had to put those at the top three. But this number three, this one's from 1983. It's from director Richard Marquand, and it's Return of the Jedi. So obviously you can see this here, but you can see the poster on my left here at the left corner there. But yeah, like I said, this one's it was definitely like the most modern looking of the original trilogy. Had the Ewoks, the whole thing. But it had a great ending, though. Everybody loves what they did with the Darth Vader and the Emperor at the end of this, and with Luke Skywalker's really great in this movie too. But yeah, definitely love the action here. I thought I think the Ewoks were originally going to be Wookiees, I think, and then they decided to change that. So that definitely made it more like a kid-friendly kind of movie, which a lot of adults. I was obviously a kid. I was 10 years old in 1983. Okay, so number two for 1977, I had the original Star Wars. So this one, when this was released by George Lucas, originally it wasn't called Episode 4: A New Hope. It was just called Star Wars because at the time they didn't know there was going to be a franchise. This movie ended up breaking the box office records from Jaws from like 2 years earlier, for 1975. So obviously George Lucas and Steven Spielberg are like best friends, so they kind of topped each other there, and they worked with each other later with the Indiana Jones franchise. So yeah, it's just amazing how that is. And those two are really like the people that built the huge cineplexes that we have now. That are unfortunately, because people aren't going to the theater as much, they're closing a lot of movie theaters now. But they're the reason why you would have like 5,000 screens nationwide in the United States is because of them. Because they made these big blockbuster movies, and studios decided to start making blockbusters at that point, popcorn movies. Okay, so number one for 1980, this one's from director Irwin Kershner, and it's The Empire Strikes Back. So I love the 77 film, but Episode 5, things kind of definitely happen in this movie. It's definitely way more dramatic. The rebels don't get their way in this movie. Very shocking. And obviously this one has a great reveal at the end of it that people couldn't believe. I remember I was like 7 years old when I saw this, and I saw it with my mom at the time, and I remember like the older kids and the other adults in the theater, when you hear that big reveal, like they're all kind of looking at each other and shocked. It's brilliant writing. This is back before social media, so word hadn't gotten out about the whole thing. So it was shocking that people didn't spoil it back then. It's amazing, but obviously, as far as this, if you watch the special editions, you'll see Ian McDermott plays the Emperor. Really, that's one thing I don't like about the original theatrical version of it. The way that actor looked, they distorted his eyes and kind of stuff like that. It looked really strange. But I love the cast. Obviously, Mark Hamill and Harrison Ford. He has Carrie Fisher, David Prowse in the suit. Like I said, Billy D. Williams as Lando. It's really great. Like I said, they had to have this movie, and definitely the Return of the Jedi was definitely way more lighthearted compared to this movie. But it's so great. Boba Fett was introduced in this movie. He was in the cartoons at one time too, but you definitely got to see that iconic character. Okay, everybody, so I really appreciate watching this video. Please leave in the comments, let me know your top 11. Your list doesn't have to look like my list necessarily. I'm not really trying to change anybody's mind here. That's not what I do on my channel. Just giving my opinion. Please, obviously keep movie theaters alive, keep physical media alive, and may the 4th be with you.